It is member-supported Hawaii Public Radio, HPR1, All Things Considered, and I'm Dave Lawrence. Today we are welcoming back an artist that we have had on with us most Januaries, it seems, over the last few years. She is tonight on the Garden Isle at the KCC Performing Arts Center before a show tomorrow at the MAC and then Saturday at the Honoka'a People's Theater. No Honolulu area date from our pal, known for her duets with everybody from Stephen Stills to Snuffleupagus, Judy Collins. Judy, welcome back. Good to have you with us.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm eager to be with you and glad to be here. So thank you so much.
You are welcome so much. And what's the story with No Honolulu this year? Is that like because you're going to come back and do Extra Love next year or something like that?
Oh, sure. That is certainly a possibility.
So give the shows a plug. I know you have that gentleman who's usually there with you. What's in store that folks are going to be seeing?
Oh, well, it'll be a wonderful show. I have new songs, of course, plus some of the classics. I'll be with my wonderful musical director, Russell Walden, and we'll do everything from classics from both sides now and someday soon, and sending the clowns to my brand new song, which is called The Dreamer's Song, which is about the DACA situation, and I hope that it will be inspiring as well as entertaining.
Let's hear about that new song. Talk about how you came up with that and a little bit of the background on why this is such a passionate thing for you.
Well, I think that we here in this country have a responsibility to our history, which is that we're all dreamers. We all came here from someplace else. We all took a chance in our past, in our ancestral past, to make a change, except, of course, you are different in that regard because you were the original citizens of Hawaii, but many people have come to be with you. And, of course, many people come to the States to get away from terror and crime and murder and have been welcomed over the centuries. So I heard a daughter of an immigrant who was a dreamer talk about this a couple years ago. And I wrote the song and began singing it this past year in January. And I've made a recording of it, which is available on most of the platforms. You can go to iTunes to hear it. And there's a video with it now, of course, so you can see it. And so I will probably be doing a lot of things with that song. It'll be on my next album, of course, and which is called Resist. And I hope it will inspire people to welcome the next right move in their lives.
That's a nice sentiment, especially considering that unless you are Native American, virtually everybody else is an immigrant in the United States.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not even so sure about the American Indians. I think they came across the strait and from somewhere, sometime.
Right, but we'll give them credit on some level of original ownership, certainly over the rest
absolutely.
of the
over the rest of us, absolutely.
Yeah. So another great facet of your life recently has been this renaissance of working with Stephen, and everybody knows came out recently. Stephen Stills we're talking about is a person that you have a magical connection with for a very, very long time. And to have this happen at this point in your life, it's just one of those cool things. Kind of like, I guess, Jerry Brown coming back to be governor of California or something. But take us back, take us back to the beginning. And maybe, because I know people would love to hear, first meeting him and how you developed this relationship.
Well, Stephen and I met in 1968. I was doing an album out there called Who Knows Where the Time Goes, which wound up being called that. It was with my producer, David Anderley, who said to me, well, I'd like to get a new band for you. So I sent my old band home, and he brought on a whole bunch of new players. He brought Buddy Emmons and James Burton from who were having their first opportunity to play on folk rock a la Los Angeles rather than Nashville. And he brought on Van Dyke Parks, who wrote many songs for Brian Wilson or with Brian Wilson. He brought on a wonderful bass player named Chris Etheridge, who at that point was playing with the Flying Burrito Brothers. And was very, very happy, I always say, but didn't know where he was. And then in walked Stephen Stills, and we hit it off immediately and had an affair which lasted, I always say the rumors lasted longer than the affair, but we also remained friends over the years. So we've been friends for 50 years, and we recently, a couple of years ago, decided we'd take a crack at going out together. We always knew we enjoyed and sang some music together very well, and so we figured we had a pretty good chance of doing it okay on stage. And we've just completed 115 shows in a year and a half, and we've toured all over the country, all over the U.S. We didn't come to Hawaii, unfortunately, but who knows? Maybe we'll do that another time. But we've had a wonderful time, made a new album called Everybody Knows, featuring that wonderful song of the great Leonard Cohen.
Right.
And it has been a wonderful experience, and I think beneficial for both of us. We both enjoyed it a lot.
When you guys do that live thing, and as you said, it didn't come to Hawaii, so I don't know exactly what's in the set list, which must be sort of tantalizing for your fans. But Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, a song that he wrote for you, about you. You guys don't tackle that together, or do you?
Oh, yes, we do. We had such a good time. We don't do the whole song, but we do it from the middle right on to the end.
Wow.
And we do it as an ending for the show. So it's very exciting. It's particularly nice for me because I never got to sing it before.
Right. Did you, when that first happened, I mean, to have somebody... A lot of folks could have a song written about them. Then the song becomes a massive hit or whatever, a cultural landmark. That's another story. But when it first emerged, when did you first realize that you were going to have this tune about you?
Well, it was the first time I heard it. He had written it between the end of the summer of '68 and about probably the beginning of October, maybe, because we had to go back into the studio and record a drum track on Who Knows Where the Time Goes for a movie. And between the end of the summer, when we'd recorded in June, and the beginning of October, I think it was, he and David had met and been bonded with Graham Nash, and they'd gone down to Florida to write songs. And he came back with a whole bunch of songs, including Wooden Ships and Sweet Judy Blue Eyes and Helplessly Hoping and a song called Judy and etc. And he put them all on a secretly recorded tape in the studio when we did that drum track for Who Knows Where the Time Goes. I didn't know anything about it because he sent me home. I said, I'm going home. He said, I want to stay in the studio here and record a few things if you don't mind. I said, sure. Having no clue what was on his list or on his mind, and didn't know he'd written this song. So the first time that I heard Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, he came to see me in May of '69. I came out to do a show, and we'd already sort of broken up, but we were trying to get back together, and he came to see me with flowers, and he had a guitar that he was giving me as a birthday gift, which I still have, a little Martin, beautiful Martin. And then he sang me this incredible song. And I said, we were both in tears, of course, at the end of it, and I said, it's so beautiful, but it's not going to get me back. And that was it. And then, in the summer, I began to hear in New York, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes on the radio. Well, it tore me up, I want to say. It was so upsetting, emotionally upsetting to me, because I knew, first of all, I thought he'd read my journals, because all of this stuff about Tuesdays and Saturdays, and what have you got to lose? All this stuff, because I was in therapy in New York, and my therapist didn't want me to have anything to do with Stephen Stills. I was in therapy in New York, and he didn't like therapy, and he didn't like New York. But somehow, throughout these years, we remained friends, and I used to go down, I visited him a couple times in Florida, and we'd talk and talk. He'd call me in the middle of the night or text me more lately. And we did a big show in Orlando with CSN, and Richie Havens was on that show. It's about 6 or 7 years ago now. It was just before Richie got sick and died. It was his last show, actually.
Wow.
And Stephen and I, after the show, Stephen and I sort of took a look at each other and said, why aren't we doing this? What's standing in our way? So it took another few years for us to put it together, but my manager, Catherine DePaul, said, you have to do this. This is historic, which of course it is.
Man, we just got to get it to Honolulu. I don't know what we do.
Yeah.
We got to do like a petition, online petition. How many names would it take to get?
I don't know. I don't know. It was a hefty proposition to do this.
Yep.
And we had a wonderful 3-piece, 4-piece, 5-piece band, including us. But we had a drummer, a bass player, and a wonderful musical director. My musical director, the aforementioned Russell Walden.
What an amazing thing to do. And for fans, like you were saying, it kind of brings a lot of things full circle for people. Then to be playing that tune at the end together is pretty cool.
And we sing together all the way through that show. We come out on the stage and we do Handle Me With Care. And then we go into You Don't Have to Cry. And then we do a new song of mine called River of Gold. And we do Southern Cross. And Who Knows Where the Time Goes, and we do a lot of stuff, and it's pretty much on the stage together the whole night, except he sings one song on his own, maybe two, and I sing 2 songs on my own. So it makes for a very full night.
Sounds like it. Sounds like a good time for folks. And as we wrap it up, when you reflect back on that experience, were there certain shows, I imagine in like maybe entertainment hubs where there are a lot of your friends living, or other cities where people that are special to you, important to your career, or your, who are your loved ones, came to the show, maybe standout gigs where you're like, wow, well, this is where so-and-so showed up, or we got to jam with this person, or this was a real important one of the shows?
We did some pretty hot venues. We did the Kennedy Center, which was the end of this past summer, I think. I hope. We did Tanglewood up in Massachusetts. That was phenomenal. We did Nashville. We did the Ryman. Oh. The Ryman was particularly wonderful because the audience is full of musicians who know exactly what they're hearing, and they know the historical arc of this friendship, love affair, musical contribution. The fact that we both, after we had met in 1968, both of us took off, continued in both of our cases, because we were both still already working and recording. He had just finished the first round of Buffalo Springfield and had finished Buffalo Springfield and was just about to go out with CSNN. So we both were on a roll for 50 more years, and will continue to be.
It's a wonderful thought. She's tonight, Garden Isle, KCC Performing Arts Center, tomorrow at the MAC, and Saturday, Honoka'a People's Theater. Judy Collins back with us here on the show, and part of All Things Considered for yet another January. We appreciate it, and have a good run of dates, and hopefully the next time around we will be finding you in Honolulu.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the call, and we'll talk to you soon.
Be safe, Judy. Aloha.
Aloha.